We're back this week with pastor, author, and chaplain from the Dallas Cowboys, Jonathan Evans.
Today we start with Jonathan Evans from the pulpit right here at Cornerstone Church before he joins us here to discuss reaching the next generation for Christ.
You're watching The Difference, and it starts right now.
I want to read one verse as my theme verse for tonight. And then we're going to go from there. It's found in Exodus 1:25. And in Exodus 1:25, there is a scenario that's going down. Pharaoh has just put out an edict in the land. And that edict is putting some people in positions where they have to make some critical decisions in their life. And so I want to read this verse, and then I want to take off for a second. It's found in Exodus 1:22, and it reads this way. Then Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, every son who was born you ought to cast into the Nile, and every daughter you ought to keep alive. Then Pharaoh commanded all of his people, saying, every son I want you to take him and cast him into the Nile, and every daughter I want you to keep alive. Tonight I want to talk to you about surviving Pharaoh. I want to talk to you about surviving Pharaoh because there is a great enemy in the land at the time, and there's a great enemy in our land at this time. And he is coming to steal, kill, and destroy, and he has an edict out on your life. He has an edict out on your life, and he wants to take from you that which God has conceived in you. You see, he has a plan of action because Pharaoh is extremely evil and insecure. He's evil and insecure, and so what he wants to do is come to God's people who have the charge to replicate God's image, who have the charge to replicate who God is on earth as it is in heaven. And because he's evil and insecure, he wants to make sure that what you've been charged to do, purpose to do in your individual life and in your families and in your careers and wherever you go and whatever you do, he wants to make sure that you don't get around to working for God's kingdom because he wants you to stay enslaved to his kingdom. I don't know if you've had any prized possessions that have been taken. I don't know if you have any things in your life that have been stripped away from you. I want you to understand that a lot of times when blessings become burdens, it's because the hands of Pharaoh are on you. Listen, we don't fight it just against flesh and blood. We fight against the rulers, the principalities, the world forces of darkness, the spiritual forces of wickedness in heavenly places. We got to start understanding that if all you see is what you see, you do not see all there is to be seen. There is something behind the scenes at work. Pharaoh is trying to strip your marriage from you so you won't progress. He's trying to strip your kids. The waywardness that you're experiencing is not they just a bad kid. Pharaoh's hands is on them. He wants to strip that idea, that dream, that business that you've built, those things that you're trying to do. It's been conceived in you. You're excited about it. You've given birth to it. You're trying to nurse it and grow it, spend time with it. You're totally investing yourself in whatever that thing is, and it started out as a blessing. And now that blessing is turning into a burden. It's because Pharaoh has an edict out in the land. Then Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, every son who was born, kill him. Throw him into the Nile. Well, if you can imagine a mother being chased down by Egyptian goons who were trying to take the most precious thing from you and throw it into the Nile, get rid of it. And there are many people in this room, if the truth be told, you are playing tug of war currently with Pharaoh. You're trying your best to hold on to something, and Pharaoh's hands are strong. That blessing is becoming a burden. That child is becoming a burden. The marriage is becoming a burden. Making ends meet is becoming a burden. The business is becoming a burden. Staying healthy is becoming a burden. Everything that was a blessing to you is now becoming a burden to you because Pharaoh has this edict out in the land and your hands are beginning to burn. The rope is sliding in the wrong direction, and Pharaoh is pulling and tugging as his edict is out on you. So I'm just giving you a picture of what's going on in your life for those of you who are dealing with massive burdens that you are trying to hold on to because it's important for you to see it be saved. It's important for you to see it develop and grow. It's important to you to see, for you to see it do well. But there's this powerful edict out in the land. And in chapter 2, I'm about to give you something that changed my whole life. Okay? I'm about to give you, if you don't remember anything else, I want you to remember what I'm about to give you by virtue of point. I'm about to give you one major point. If you remember this point, it will change your whole stuff. In Exodus 2, for those of you who are carrying these burdens and enslaved to Pharaoh's edict, there's another woman who shows us what to do. Exodus 2:1 says, "Now a man from the house of Levi went to marry a daughter of Levi. The woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw that he was beautiful, she hid him for 3 months." The word beautiful there means healthy. It means when I saw that my baby was healthy. But I know that Pharaoh's edict is out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the blessing and I'm going to hide it with my own hands, my own care, in my own house for 3 months. That's what we do when we have something that has been given to us that's healthy. It's conceived in you, you've given birth to it, and you're saying, this is awesome. I'm gonna make sure I protect it. I'm gonna make sure it survives. I'm gonna make sure it develops and grows. I'm gonna do everything I can within my power, my intellect, my will to make sure that it survives. That's what Moses' mother was doing. She was doing what any other mother would do. Are y'all with me? But when she could no longer hold him, she got him a wicker basket, covered it over with tar and pitch, and put the child into it, and set it amongst the reeds, amongst the banks of the Nile. She got to a point, okay? Listen to me now. She got to a point where she couldn't do it anymore. There are people under the sound of my voice right now. You're at a place where you just can't do it anymore. You're tired. Pharaoh's hands are too strong. And you're starting to lose your mind trying to hold this baby and use your own will, intellect, and strength to make sure that it survives. You're using all your intellect and strength to make sure your marriage survives. You're doing everything that you can. You're using everything you can to get that wayward child back. Don't you just wish you can just do surgery and place your brain in their head and just end all this? And it's driving you nuts that you can't get them by your own power back to where you know they need to be. There are people in here who are losing their minds trying to hide the baby. The reason why you're losing your mind is because you have now stepped into God territory. You're trying to do what only God can do. And it's always evidence because she could no longer do it. It's always evidence that you are in God territory when you are starting to lose your mind. I just can't do it. And that's where she was, and the decision that she made, I want you to see. She took the baby, she put it in a wicker basket. She covered it with tar and pitch, and she took the baby and put the baby in the Nile. You know what she just did? She did what your grandmama been telling you to do. Baby, you need to let go and let God. That's what she just did. She took that blessing that had become a burden because of the edict, and she placed the baby in the hands of God. Because if it stays in my hands, Pharaoh's gonna get it. If I keep using my intellect, I know you got edumacation. I know you got plaques on the wall. I know you're a counselor. I know you have great thought, great logic, and you have great apologetics. You know ecclesiology, eschatology, angelology, demonology. You got all of the ologies down. You got all of, but if you keep that as the God of your life to actually change your circumstances, you'll miss the God in your life who can change your circumstances.
Honor the Lord with the first fruits of all your endeavors and see your blessings return in abundance.
When you faithfully give the Lord His tithe, you activate God's covenant promises. He said, bring all the tithes into the storehouse, that there might be food in my house.
With your gift of any amount to the ministry, we would love to send you Absolute Power and the Power to Prosper books. These two resources will help you chart a biblical path and achieve the good plans He has for you. For your gift of $175 or more, we'll send you the entire Power Box straight away. This power-packed bundle of resources includes the Power to Get Wealth 3-part sermon series, the Prayer Journal, our Master Your Money exclusive interview, and the Power Mug, in addition to the Absolute Power and the Power to Prosper books.
Sow your tithe and watch as He opens the windows of heaven to bless you beyond measure.
Send your gift today. Call the number on your screen or visit jhm.org/firstfruits.
Welcome back to The Difference. Our guest is Jonathan Evans. Now, one of the things that, each of us have talents and gifts and I love music. You come from a musical family, but you have a gift with what they call spoken word.
Yeah.
So I've seen you do that.
I mean, on social media, it is powerful.
And I've tried it. I mean, I've looked in the mirror and been like, and I don't know if I just didn't get the rhythm, or there's a cadence. I'm just like I need to be who I am and not try that. Yeah. But that has opened doors for you to reach young people that their ear is tuned to that kind of content. Tell us about that and how does that work?
Well, it's interesting because when I was in college, I was listening to rap music. I'm listening to all this music, and we had freestyle contests in the locker room. Uh-huh. So in the locker room, somebody would make a beat on the wall, and we would just start freestyling. So I would freestyle, and they'd be like, "Wow, what? Where's Preacher Man getting this? Where's Preacher Man getting this stuff from?" And I didn't know.
Take words like participle and popsicle and put them together.
Yeah, that's right. You're making stuff
How'd you do that?
So I'm doing that. Not related to anything. I'm just doing that,
Yeah.
just having fun with it. And I can't do it that well anymore, but I was doing it then. But God was like, he uses the details. I wasn't even thinking about that. Mm-hmm. But even when I'm preaching, you know how preachers do, just making stuff connect. But when I do spoken words and things of that nature, sometimes I'll do those for the church, or I'll do those at our youth ministry, or I'll do those social media, and I get a lot of engagement, and people listen just with a different ear. Correct. To it and the points that are being made. And I just think making contact with all generations is important. Yeah. And I want to do that. I want to do that with that tool, and God used it. So I just, whenever I have the opportunity. I put something together.
That's awesome.
So you have a 13-year-old. We have 17-year-old, 15-year-old, 12-year-old. It's a social media generation.
Yeah.
Oh,
and they have an opportunity to grow up quick.
Yeah, that's right.
How do you slow it down?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, so in our house, there is no social media.
That's good.
in our house. Okay,
because they're 13, they're still
13,
young.
there is no social media. I mean, she wants her TikTok account, and I'm like,
No.
the problem with that is you're scrolling looking for the fads to determine what you're supposed to post.
Correct.
Which means you're never gonna learn
have an
who
identity.
you're supposed to be because you're just trying to figure it out from the world. When you can tell me what you want to give the world, then I'll let you give it. But until you can tell me that, you can't be on social media. And so I want you to, that's number one. Number two is, I want to be the one to teach you the things about the world. Not the world.
Not the world to teach you.
Yeah, because that's what they're learning from. I mean, all of the news, you go to Twitter, just everybody's telling you everything about the news. You go to Instagram, everybody's posting stuff. The reels are going crazy. I mean, it's just swiping. And I do feel old, I do feel, like our parents wouldn't let us do stuff. And we're like, it's not a big deal. What are you talking about? Yeah. So now I feel like I'm reproducing that.
Yeah.
And so some parts of me is like, you're the old guy saying no. But I know that too much information that is given freely all the time will warp you.
Yeah.
It just will.
And it's the quality of the content, or lack thereof.
Yep.
Because as you're talking about, you scroll and there's the news. It's that person's perspective or spin on the news. It's what they have to say about what's going on. It's not the truth about what is happening.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really helped me in my childhood is that, one, there was not that much access to information.
We didn't have it. We were
flip phone when I got to college.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there wasn't that much access to information, but any question that I had, I could go to Dad.
Yeah.
And one thing that John Hagee was an absolute dealer in was truth.
That's right.
He said, sit down, I'm going to tell you what, and it might have been more than you wanted to hear, but you got to the bottom of it quick, and you're like, okay, so that's how that works. And then when I was able to engage with my friends and they had questions or they had, a different twist on it, I would say, no. That's not how that works. This is the truth.
Right.
And maybe we agreed, maybe we disagreed, maybe they learned something, but at least I had confidence.
That's right.
In what I knew.
What was real.
Yeah, and why.
Yes.
And I see so much of the world that we live in today stealing confidence from the next generation because there's so many different versions and there's so many different things that they're engaged with and there's so many different looks and feels that they think they have to be if they're going to be relevant. And I think that parents need to understand that you have to be the source of confidence for your children. They're going to borrow your confidence until they get self-confidence.
Yes.
Yes, they are. And it's okay, like as parents, I know I have my kids tell me, but my other friends have it, and we're the only ones. We're the only ones that don't have it. And there's apps out there that you can get for your kids and you can control their phones. But I see so many times mom and dads go, but you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just, give it to them. Everybody's doing it.
They're trying to refrain from the headache.
Yes.
Refrain from the headache. And that's a tough thing because, their value is now found in the views and the likes.
Yes.
Correct.
So I'll watch Kelsey, she'll put up a video, anytime I let her put up a video on TikTok, but she's always going back to check the views.
Check it to see it.
So
who watched?
Who watched? I need to see how many people watch. I said, well, if you're giving what you feel like God is telling you to give, who cares who watches?
Who cares? Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's very layered. This whole social media thing is layered. Now, I'm not dumb. I understand that when they grow up, it's going to be a tech world.
Yes.
They're going to be living in a metaverse. Yeah. They're going to be, they got their glasses on and they got. So I understand that. So I'm not keeping them from it, but you have to create boundaries in order for them to be free, or they'll get locked up in bad freedom. If you give them too much freedom, all they're going to do is get locked up in it.
Yeah.
So, and so I want to make sure that we have. Even my son is big into Fortnite.
Yes.
Fortnite,
okay. How old is he?
He's 11.
11, yeah.
So he's Fortnite, headphones, boom, boom, boom. But when I'm up there, when I'm listening downstairs and I'm like, okay, grab, and he's like naming all the weapons. And he's like, get that one. Okay, I'm listening. That's not great conversation that he's having up there with his friend. So what we do is we have no technology Monday through Friday.
Us too, during the week.
On the weekends, we allow some usage of technology that we allow. But you can't just scroll. We can't manage scrolling.
No.
So anything that's scrolling, we can't manage it. And then, actually now, from January through June, There's no technology.
They're on like a 6
Yeah,
month,
we're doing
fast.
We'll just cut it off.
Well,
and they become better kids. They're
Yes, they're actually, they like listen, they talk
play
to you in
together.
the car.
Their
they're
attitudes go down. They're just so much. I'm like, this is
great.
One of the best things we did in our house, we bought a ping pong table.
Yes.
That's right.
You know, I'm gonna take your phone. I'm gonna give you a ping pong paddle.
And here's your ping pong.
And you know, the amount of engagement that they have, and you know, the thing that I think is so important is it's not, hey, we're down on current. You know, technology is a blessing and a burden.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to manage both. What I'm concerned about is that the family is the unit that God gave to the world so that people would learn who they were and how they were supposed to act. And if you're not careful, things like technology will make you strangers in your own household.
It'll make you strangers in your own. Everybody's on their own device, in their own spot.
You're close but disconnected, and you're sitting next to each other and not speaking because there's something right here that's more engaging than you.
That's right.
And you know, as we were discussing in our last segment, you know, as a family, you walk through seasons of loss in which, you know, all of a sudden somebody you've lived your whole life with isn't there anymore. You don't want to look back and say, I was on Facebook instead of in her face. You know, and I see a generation that needs to understand the value of spending time together and learning who you are and who this person is in your life, because those days are short.
Yeah, and I have to show them that I'm willing to fast from it too.
I was going to say, it's not just the kids, it's the parents
I can use it as an excuse. Well, I have to do it for work.
Yeah, it's
Me
work.
too. It's work related. I found myself
Meanwhile, I'm on
I'll just
Instagram.
scroll while we're talking, and then I'm just sitting there scrolling.
That's right.
Or, you know, like the new stat says that we check our phone 2,000 times a day.
Yeah.
I sat there
It's
and was
addictive.
like,
I mean, it's definitely addictive, and that's why we know.
I just checked that. I put that away.
Well, you know,
no doubt about it.
We were talking at the end of last year and the start of this year, you know, we're going to consecrate the year and we're going to go into fast. And, you know, it was one of those things where we're sitting around the table and, you know, for me, I live to eat. I don't eat to live. So, you know, I mean, it's like I'm not looking forward to giving up food. But my 17-year-old daughter, you know, I mean, you talk to her about not eating, she's like, cool, you know, and I'm like, well, give me your phone. She's like, no.
I know.
You know?
That's it. That's the harder thing. I just finished a 40-day fast from my phone.
Did you? So did you put it up completely, shut it off?
I put it up completely. What did I do? I put it up completely on anything scrolling. Anything
so social
investing,
media,
anything I'm interested
games.
in. I'll pick up the phone and talk to somebody, or I read a text. But there was no interaction with any app.
Yeah.
You just
on
have
my
to shut
phone.
it down. You have
Shut
to
it down.
when you're doing
and
it.
my life got better.
And all those notifications, the distractions.
Yes, and so
you'll be reading
it's
your
a big
Bible
deal.
and get a distraction on your Apple Watch now, and you're just like.
Yep. And well, my son thinks that success is, and I'm working on this, is in that world.
Yeah.
So when he's playing 2K or something, and he's like, "Ooh, I dunked on you." Ooh,
Yeah.
Our son too. He's like,
No, you didn't.
No,
that's a video
That's
game.
a video. That's
So
not
they
reality.
think that success is actually somewhere else other than them being responsible.
Yeah.
And so it's a layered thing.
Yeah. It's a
but you know, it's tough love for them.
Correct.
Yeah.
But they're better. They're more family oriented. They're looking forward to conversation. And they got to learn that too.
They'll learn.
Absolutely. We've got one more segment when we come back, and I don't want you to miss it. Jonathan Evans is a dynamic speaker and an author, and I want you to have the opportunity to engage with his content. You're going to learn more when we return.
I'm so grateful that I chose differently. I'm so happy that I chose you. I get to see you become the person God intended you to be. Thank you, Hagee Ministry Legacy Partners.
There has never been a better time to share the love of Christ with a mother and a child than right now. When you partner with Hagee Ministries, your legacy impacts lives and transforms a nation. Call today or go to jhm.org/partner.
Welcome back to The Difference. Our guest today is Jonathan Evans. Jonathan, you know, all the things that are happening in your life, you have resources. You've written books with Dad. Get in the Game. It's one of my favorites. It is, because I'm a sports guy. The applications are very relevant, but they give me an opportunity to have a conversation with my son.
That's right.
You know,
That's right. That's what
and
it's for.
as a dad, that is huge.
Yeah.
You know, because as a pastor, I can talk about the word.
Yeah.
But as a dad, how do you take this truth and get your child to crave it?
That's right.
You know, because as parents, force feeding is not fun. How do our viewers find out more about you? Where do they go, and how would you like for them to engage with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's important to cook up things people like that are still healthy.
Yeah.
It's an important thing to do. But yes, I have Get in the Game. I did Your Time Is Now, which was a catalytic purpose book with a devotional, and then Divine Disruption, some other things that are coming out. But my website, JonathanBlakeEvans.com. And so that's my website and my social medias. So you can get a hold of me, and you can just see what I've got cooking, what's going on, and see what God pulls on you.
And you know, Dad, he's still preaching.
Yeah, Dad is, come on now.
Hey, listen, that wasn't a question, that was just a statement.
You know, our dads are going to keep preaching.
Yeah.
And so, I want them to.
Yes.
They are, both of them are just monsters.
They're 4-star generals.
They're 4-star generals, and I'm happy to walk beside. I'm happy to step in when necessary. But he's still preaching, and I'm still, you know, he's Batman. I'm Robin sitting there writing the coaster next to him, like, who's next? You know?
Who's next?
And so we're having fun, continuing to do what God's asking you to do. And when you're just doing what you're called to do, it's not something you retire from. It's not a job. You're just doing what you love to do and what you're called to do, and we're going to continue to do it.
So the family, and I'm talking about you and you know, your wife and 5 children. You're growing up in a different world, but in the same fashion as your household growing up.
Yes.
Where do you want to see your kids when you're dad's age?
Oh man, that's so great. It's a great question. One of the things that we do that my dad did is the table. We use the dinner table not for just eating, we use it for leading. That gives me my hour every single day, Monday through Thursday, because Friday's Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Not Sunday.
Yeah, that's right, not Sunday. But that gives me my hour, and me and Kanika's hour, to sit down, to engage the kids every day, to talk around the meal. They each tell us about their day. We each speak into it. Then I pull out the word, and they go, you know, here we go. He's gonna preach a message. But I just give them one simple verse, less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just to teach them a nugget. That is what all of my siblings talk about from when we were little.
Same thing with
His
you.
dad said, and he just led us at the table, and everything we remember, the laughter, the fun, the community, the connection, the conversation, the word, all of those things. So I'm carrying that on so that I can see what my dad's dad saw. My dad's dad and mom saw. Psalm 128, may you see your children's children.
Amen. Thank you for joining us today on The Difference. You know, our children are growing up in a very fast-paced world, and you have to be intentional about making sure that they have the Word of God planted in their life. I hope that you learned some things as Jonathan and Kendal and I were able to share perspectives on what we do in our household that you can apply in yours. By doing so, I promise you this, you're going to have the opportunity to see God do great things in your children and your children's children. God bless you, and thank you for joining us here on The Difference.